Welcome to Weekly Bible Study with Moreh Yeshiah, where my mission, goal, slogan, and purpose is to put God back into our relationships. 1 Kings chapter 9 verse 7, "And Israel shall be a proverb and a byword among all people, from slave to Negro, to colored, to black, to Afro-American, to African-American, to Hebrew Israelite." How good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell together in unity. Psalms chapter 133 verse 1. Breaking the chains of mental and spiritual slavery with the Word of God. From Gentile to Christian Jew, to Jewish Hebrew, to Hebrew Israelite, to Hebrew. Thanks for watching. Please take a second to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notification.
Praise the power of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Israel, for he is worthy to be praised. Almighty Yah, I thank and praise you for another opportunity to repent of our foreparents, parents, ours, our children, and our children's sins. For we have continually walked contrary to your laws from the days of our youth. For we have a hard forehead and refuse to be ashamed. For we love the precepts, customs, laws, and traditions of men. But our leaders cause the people to err, and they who are led of them are being destroyed. Therefore, I pray that you judge these false leaders as men and women who defile the marital bed by breaking the covenant of marriage through adultery, and as men and women who shed innocent blood through murder. For the blood of your people are upon their hands, because they failed to warn the people of your impending wrath, which is your impending judgment, and they failed to teach the people your laws, that if a man walks therein, he should live. Therefore the people are dying in their sins, but their blood will be required at the hands of these leaders who fail to be watchmen. Continue to magnify the law and make it honorable. Continue to make the crooked things straight, and continue to reveal your righteousness to your servants, even your servants who are Morahs, prophets, and prophetess. And I pray that they lean not to their own understanding, neither turn to the right hand nor to the left, but stay on you in truth, righteousness, equity, justice, meekness, and fear, letting you guide their feet, direct their path, while helping them to eschew evil, thus keeping a wall of protection around them and their household. I thank and praise you for all the blessings, mercies, benefits, and grace that you have bestowed upon all of the children of Israel. For you have truly been good to Israel, for your mercies endure forever. They're new each day, and I thank you for them. Selah.
Today's lesson is part of a series titled, "Learn Not the Ways of the Nations," derived from Jeremiah chapter 10 verse 2, "Thus saith Yah, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them." The discussion topic is identifying biblical heathen nations and customs that Hebrews have culturally appropriated, taught by Moreh Yeshiah at Moreh Yeshiah History Lessons, at Moreh Yeshiah Torah Lessons, at Moreh Yeshiah Old Testament, and at Moreh Yeshiah Hebrew Lessons. All holy scriptures cited in this lesson will be in the description box below the video. Now, here is your host, Moreh Yeshiah.
I thank you all who have joined me today, as well as those who will see this lesson in the future. I pray that you all are well and in a good mood to learn about our forefathers' relationship with the God of the Hebrews. The Holy Scriptures used in this lesson will be in the description box below the video. If anyone has any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the chat or comment section down below the video. And please don't show hate to anyone at any time in the comment section. If me or the Moreh can't answer a question now, we will either reply to it later or address your question on the next video. Disclaimer, please beware that we are not all knowing nor omnipotent. Therefore, some things are hidden by God, and He alone reveals the secret things to whom He pleases. I will now ask the Most High Yah for guidance, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of His words that can be found in the Holy Scriptures from Genesis to Malachi. And it is not our intention nor our purpose to mislead, misguide, nor misdirect anyone off the path of righteousness. Hallelujah. Learn not the ways of the nations. It's a series derived from Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2, where Yah commanded us not to learn any of the ways of the nations. For it says, thus said Yah, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. Why? For the heathen are dismayed at them. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 2. God didn't say, learn not some of the customs of the nations. He said, learn not the customs of the nations, period. You can't pick and choose which customs you like because you want to lean to your own understanding of the law based upon what you choose to accept or choose not to accept. For Isaiah chapter 58, verses 8 and 9 says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, said Jehovah. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. The Most High knows what's best for us, but we think we're more righteous than the Most High. We want to tell Him what we want to do and what we don't want to do. We are the same stiff-necked, disobedient nation that wearied the Most High in the wilderness. Our forefathers still had Egypt in their hearts, and we still have America in ours. Where's the progress, Israel? Where's the change? Where's the enlightenment? Someone asked me a question several months ago. He said, why would you want to be part of a nation that constantly goes into captivity? Now, after several months, I want to answer that question because our laws are unique. We are the chosen of the Most High Yah, a special and peculiar people. We were chosen to be a light to the nations, even in captivity. So wherever the nations are, we have to be there, shining a light upon unrighteousness, evil, wickedness, injustice, vile and abominable practices and customs. They have to see us living differently, worshiping differently, eating differently, dressing differently, and behaving differently. Even though we as a nation are in captivity, some of us are not suffering as others. Remember Daniel? He went into slavery, and he's the perfect example of God's mercy. What about Joseph? He was sold into slavery and still prospered. So, to answer the question, I would rather be chosen as a priest to all the nations and be in captivity than to be in the darkness, living in sin with absolutely no knowledge of the true and living God. These other nations don't know God, nor do they have a consciousness of His laws. Look around, the evidence speaks for itself. This series explored the many traditions and customs that heathen nations, especially the Jewish nation, have negatively influenced our way of life. From how Torah based Hebrews, commonly called Israelites, worship and serve our God, to the definition of the new moon, observance of the holy days, Sabbath day, weekly Torah portion only readings, what we eat, and also what we wear. My mission, goal, purpose, and intention is to point out the many influences that Hebrews have acquired from the Jewish nation, claim them as taking back our culture based on 2 Kings chapter 7, verse 27. And it says, then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, Carry thither one of the priests whom ye brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the God of the land. And based on this verse, many Hebrews think that we are taking back our culture from the Jewish nation. They think this is the nation the Holy Scriptures is talking about. So these Hebrews condone the Jewish traditions, customs, and mannerisms, even when the Most High clearly says not to learn the way of the nations, period. Any nation, even if you think that nation have taken on our way of life. I created this series called Learn Not the Ways of the Nations, which are the customs of the nations, in order to give sight to the blind and hearing to the deaf about the heathen customs that has infiltrated and is currently destroying our nation, Israel. These customs are being passed down as our way of life that has been stolen by the Jews, and that is not so. Israel has culturally appropriated the religion of Judaism and Christianity. The Most High never told us to get our wisdom, knowledge, nor understanding from another nation. We get it directly from Him through the words of the prophets. Psalms chapter 147, verses 19 and 20 says, He shewed His word unto Yaakov, His statutes and His judgments unto Israel. He had not dealt so with any nation, Israel, any nation, no exception. And as for his judgments, the Most High's judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yah. These nations have not known the Most High's judgments. They don't know his laws. They misinterpret his laws. So why are we looking to these nations to misinterpret our laws, our way of life? It doesn't make sense, Israel. It doesn't make sense. We have turned away from the true and living waters and replaced him with the Judaism of the Jews. We look to these other nations to tell us when to begin and end the Sabbath day, when to celebrate our holy days, what is kosher or fit to eat, how to dress, and the misinterpretation of God's laws. Why? Because they consider GMOs to be kosher. And kosher just means fit to eat. But we don't go by their kosher rules, their kosher laws. The Most High gave us clean and unclean animals to eat. He told us in Leviticus chapter 11. Why are we looking to these other nations? We will bypass our own enlightened brothers and sisters for the foolishness of another nation because there's no wisdom in those brothers and sisters nor in a Jewish nation. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 3 says, the ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel do it not know. My people do it not consider. And we don't consider. We don't consider. If the Jews didn't say it, we won't believe it. Why, Israel? Why? I implore you to consider this question. Why would Yah wake us up to who we are, take us from serving the idol man deity of the New Testament, only to replace him with the idol man worship of Judaism? Make it make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then it is nonsensical and not of the Most High Yah, period. In some upcoming lessons that I have scheduled, I will be discussing idolatry, the dietary laws, cleanliness and uncleanliness laws, and our way of life. And by the way, they all are contrary to the customs of the nations, especially the Jewish nation. For we are a peculiar people with a peculiar set of laws, that if a man walks therein, he should live. Leviticus sets it in order. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 24. It said, I am Yah, your God, which have separated you from other people. We are separated, peculiar. So why are we trying to blend in, to mingle in with the other nations, Israel? Come from among her. Be ye separate. For we have turned our backs on our true and living waters and hewn our broken cisterns that cannot hold, nor will not hold water for the precepts, ideology, customs, and traditions of men, the unholy celebrations, unjust laws, unclean diet, unrighteous ways, mannerisms, behaviors, speech, and style of dress. Look at our nation, our communities, laden with sin, masquerading as crime. We vex our own people. Our children are being raised like wild animals. No respect for life. No respect for their parents. No respect for authority. No respect for themselves because they are devoid of the laws of God. Our men worship the God of laziness, excuses, and unaccountability. Our women worship the God of flesh, rebellion, haughtiness, and materialism. We have lost our way, Israel. We have fallen in our iniquity, and we either don't want to get up or we plainly refuse to get up, or we just don't know how to get up. Hosea chapter 14, verse 1. Oh, Israel, return to Yah thy God, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity. And we have fallen. Either we don't want to get up or we don't know how to get up. We got to come from among this nation, Israel. We got to be separated. It's not going to get any better. There are some teachers out there that can teach you how to get up. You have to be willing to accept that you have been taught wrong. You are walking wrong and that you are wrong. Let's go to Psalms chapter 34, verses 11 through 22. And it reads, Come, ye children, hearken unto me. I will teach you the fear of Yah. What man is he that desired life and loveth many days that he may see good? Keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. The eyes of Yah are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. The face of Yah is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. The righteous cry, and Yah hear it, and delivereth them out of all their troubles. Not some, all. Yah is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and save it such as be of a contrite spirit. Many, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but Yah delivereth him out of them all. He keepeth all his bones, not one of them is broken. Evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteous shall be desolate. Not might, shall be desolate. Yah redeemeth the soul of his servants, and none of them that trust in him shall be desolate. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, Israel. We have to return back to Yah, our Maker, for he is worthy to be praised. My guest speaker, Moreh Yeshiah, is a great historian. If you want to know about the history of our nation, as well as other nations throughout the years, then he is the go-to Moreh. I have known him for well over 6 years or so. He was rough around the edges in the beginning, but has mellowed out a lot. He has grown and is still in the process of growing, as we should all be. It is not to cast shade, but to highlight his progression. He is approachable, eager to learn, willing to help, and knowledgeable. We all have something that we are good at, and studying history is something that I have found him to be great at. Now, without further ado, here is Moreh Yeshiah, Yisrael. Hallelujah.
Shalom, shalom. Can I be heard?
Can. Yes, you can.
Shalom, shalom. Giving honor and praise unto the Most High, the one who sees all and is not seen, the one who judges all and is not judged. We're speaking of the Most High God. I want to, on the supreme level, give honor to Yah, the one who protects us from danger seen and unseen, as pointed out. We definitely, on a human level, I want to give due respect to my lady Sarai. I want to give due respect to my brother Yirmiyahu. I want to give respect to the person who runs the platform here, Moreh Yeshiah, and so forth. I would like to state before we get into the actual presentation, if we will, history. I owe that on a human level to my mother. May she rest in peace. My mother was a person who, born in the 1950s, saw things in the 60s and in the 70s and so forth. I remember watching a movie entitled Menace to Society, and there's a part in there where the guy who was the narrator said, when the drugs stopped, when the riot stopped, the drugs started. And my mother stated, yep. She was able to relate to what was being spoken of on things that happened prior to my birth. So at the age of 11, she gave me a set of magazines called Golden Legacy. And that's when I learned about our people in the West Indies. That's when I learned more about the slave trade. That's when I learned more about history. That's when I learned about Granville T. Woods and the inventions that we as a people have contributed, such as the door knob, the door stopper, such as the matter of the patent of the elevator was made by us as a people. So, brothers and sisters, once it comes down to this particular matter, if we will, it is, and if it's all right with the platform and channel, just want to show myself real quick for comfort purpose, is to sit there and pull up, if I can, the PowerPoint in this particular matter. All right. This is a 10-slide matter. I am open again to constructive criticism for those who are aware of such in that particular case and so forth. All right. Hoping and praying that everybody again is well and will be better. We're going to ask you to get your pens, your pads, your paper, brothers and sisters, and take notes in this particular case. All right. And I see that it is on the screen in that particular case. So let's continue. The main goal of this presentation is to demonstrate how the influences of other nations negatively affected us. Now, Israel was made, brothers and sisters, to be a nation alone, not reckoned among the nations, even stated by a person named Balaam when you go in the scriptures in the book of Numbers. Israel or Israel was meant to be different, not being like the other peoples and so forth and so on. Not being perfect myself, I remember when I was a child and understanding the ways of being a servant of the Most High God. When the school decided in junior high school to do a riot into a mall, I was the only person that the security picked up. There was over 50 students that decided to act a fool, and I, as a dodo head teenager at the time, decided to join on, and as it says, following the multitude to do evil. But of all the children that was there, 15 and younger, I was the only one picked up by the security. That told me something, while the other children were still there raiding the mall. You had no business in that scene. The Most High had a particular purpose for you, and is not to sit there and be with people who's okay being incarcerated and so forth and so on. So these are things, brothers and sisters, that we care to sit there and bring out for reference purposes. Thank you for that. Let's continue. Let us let the book speak. The first point I want to make clear is that Israel was always intended to be a unique nation. There are many characteristics of our nation that indicate a deeper connection to Hebrew culture. Leviticus 20 speaks as follows: You shall therefore put a difference between clean beasts and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. And you shall not make your souls abominable by beasts, or by fowl, or by any manner of living thing that creepeth on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. So, brothers and sisters, the Most High has already made a distinction between what he wanted his people to eat and what he gave others that they even still should not be eating. But definitely your diet, O house of Israel, is different. So the book that we follow, incorrectly called the Old Testament, where you can be defiled by what goes in and out of your mouth, is not saying what goes. It's not what goes inside of your mouth that makes you unclean, but what comes out. It's both, brothers and sisters, because Proverbs teaches us what? That it says the lips of the wise know what's acceptable. So before you come on a platform, learn the rules of an organization. When you go in somebody's house, find out what are the rules of the organization. Proverbs 23, correct me if I'm wrong, teaches us that when you sit before a ruler, consider your appetite, lest he put a knife to your neck. So my point in mentioning that part in the scriptures is have some kind of decency and order once it comes down to certain things. I give, on a human level, respect to the people who helped me move on spiritually and emotionally when my mother passed, the same very day of the funeral and burial. They came over to a place in Queens called Rochdale Village and was drumming and performing and everything like that as part of the repast. When I heard Christians sit there and state afterward the Israelites left the room clean, I felt good. When I heard people who had a cross on their neck and who probably eat things that my mother disavowed for me and my sister to eat as children, for all I know. I don't know their diet, but I know that they were saying the Israelites left the room clean. There wasn't much work for the people to have to do because the children of Israel did not sit there and leave work for others. These are things in making a light to the peoples, whether we see it or not. So, brothers and sisters, how does all of that connect with being influenced negatively by other nations? We were not a nasty, dirty, lazy, shiftless, irresponsible people. It says here, and you shall be holy unto me, for I, Yah, am holy, and have severed you from other people that you should be mine. So Israel, again, is separated from other people. You're not made to sit there and, like even Balaam said, to be reckoned among the nations. Let's continue, brothers and sisters, in this, the case of the Israelites. So how history ties into what we're talking about. Moses, which is to secure for the future of his authority over the nation, gave them a novel form of worship. What does novel mean, brothers and sisters? All right, as we want to point out with this, if we will, right? Novel means new. Form of worship opposed to or practiced by other men. So the form of worship of the Mosaic laws, as it is called, is opposed to or practiced by who? Other men. So the Torah, brothers and sisters, also called by some the Mosaic laws, or as called in the book of Malachi, the laws of Moses, is different than the culture of the principles of the Egyptian culture. The Code of Hammurabi is different than that of the Mosaic laws, because in the Code of Hammurabi, if you harbor a runaway slave, that's a death penalty. Whereas in Israel, you're supposed to sit there and harbor a slave in that particular case. You're not supposed to return. So much for the European man and the Bible being his. Because in North Carolina, like the Code of Hammurabi, it was a crime to harbor a runaway slave. Whereas the laws of the said Old Testament in Deuteronomy tells you to do so. So when we can see, say like Roman historian Tacitus, state that Moses was to secure his authority, I don't know if he meant to be sarcastic in saying that, over the nation, gave them, the Hebrews, the Israelites, a novel form of worship opposed to or practiced by other men. Things sacred with us, Romans, with them. Now what you see in the brackets is for clarity purposes. Us, in this case, is the Romans, with them Hebrews, have no sanctity, while they, the Hebrews, allow that with us, the Romans, is forbidden. We can go over a list of some of the things the Romans was about, but we ain't going to get too crass, brothers and sisters. But it was not the culture of Israel to sit there and, like one of their leaders, say that after you had a child with your sister, biological, to say that the girl is truly a boy, like they try to do in this society now, where a girl can be a boy and a boy can be a girl. That is an influence that needs not be, brothers and sisters. So let's continue. They, that is to say the Hebrews, the house of Israel, abstain from swine's flesh. By their frequent fast, they still be a witness to the long hunger of former days. Israel was known for having periodical fasts. How does this tie into what we're talking about? Because this society, as in others, promotes, for the lack of a better term, greediness. Eat, 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 obey your thirst. Eat, 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 obey your thirst. They're not teaching you how to sit there and have self-control. Like Solomon spoke, he who conquers his spirit is greater than he who conquers a city. They're dealing, for the lack of a better term, wanting you to focus on lower energies, brothers and sisters, like the book of Ezekiel talks about when it says, for their belly, which was the cause of their iniquity. They, the Israelites, abstain from swine's flesh. we know that we don't eat that, brothers and sisters. By their frequent fast, they still bear witness to long hunger of former days. In the Jewish bread, and I'll put that there because that's what it's typed in as. You got to sit there and cite the source according to what you read it, because we know it's the house of Israel, made without leaven, like this time of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, is retained as a memorial of their hurried season of corn. We are told that the rest of the seventh day was adopted because this day brought with it a termination of their toils. They gave up also the seventh year also to inaction. Tacitus, the Roman historian, was not the best friend in promoting the Israelite culture and so forth. He was speaking about it without contradicting it, but gave his stance on it as if it was a bad thing. You understand? Exodus 20 and Leviticus 25 speak of the matter of the weekly and other yearly Sabbaths. You're supposed to let the land rest. Unlike this land, like over here in, say, New York, that had an earthquake, say, within this very month, where they work the land and they work the land. You sit there and you just take the minerals out the land. You take the oil out the land. You take the things that are used for the land to sit there, because the earth always quakes, but it needs its liquid form in order to sit there and operate. But what you do in your greediness, while you calling others long hungry and fasting, is you damage things. You don't let the land have its rest. So you had to sit there and go and get a whole other people to sit there, being the salt of the earth, to sit there and work the earth. Brothers and sisters, and that's a particular case. Now, brothers and sisters, did you know that in what they refer to as slavery, that all the time on their so-called Sunday, that we were still being made to work? So they worked us and worked us, like they worked the land and they worked the land and so forth and so on. But in the laws of the said Old Testament, we see that there's a time for a rest. And if the Israelites, brothers and sisters, during the time of the Roman occupancy of Jerusalem, were not keeping the laws, how can a Roman historian speak on it? Why do I mention that? We can't do nothing in captivity. Well, while the Israelites were being, for the lack of a better term, in the time of Tacitus in history, disenfranchised, removed from their land, which you might call today called gentrification, when they had the Edomites come in place of the true house of Israel, when they had the Greeks come in place of the true house of Israel. And you can read about that in what is referred to as the Hellenos Papyrus. Israel was still known for keeping their ways. Let's continue, family. Thank you for the time. The giving of the culture, Ezekiel 20. Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am Yah that sanctifies them. There are certain things that you would not do on the Sabbath day to show to make a distinction. May he rest in peace. There's an elder named Chief Naphtali. He stated that one time somebody, when he was in front of a congregation, was wondering what day it was. And when he seen an elder dressed the way he was like, yup, for the lack of a better term, yup, today's Saturday. That man knew because of that, in that particular case, of when the Shabbat was. So we have to sit there, brothers and sisters, and be the light, not only to the nations, but also to those of our people who are influenced by the nations. You understand, once it comes down into that particular case. Relative of mine was speaking about celebrating Xmas. And we're going to talk about Xmas as we get into this portion in Jeremiah 2 and so on. We had to sit there and explain, in our home, we cannot sing songs like, quote, Jingle Bells and Frosty the Snowman and things of that kind of nature because of the kind of house that's being operated. So now that gave the child a mindset to say, well, what song can we sing, cousin? What song can we sing, family? So now that person's attention span is already given there. So now that is the time, for the lack of a better term, because it was immediate family, to sit there and punch and jump on the matter and say this, and this. We have a time in which we give gifts according to the scriptures and what is referred to as Purim, if anything, brothers and sisters. But we don't sit there and look at the signs of heaven in order to sit there in that particular case, because it comes from the heart, not from the sky. So these are things that we care to point out, brothers and sisters. I just want to show over with the laser pointer, if I will, matter with that, with the Hebrew. Wagam et shabtotai, natati lahem, lihiyot liyot, Baini, between me, ubenehem, and between them. Lada'at, in order to know, ki ani yod he wahe mikwad sham, that I am Yah, the one who sanctifies them. Quadash meaning to sanctify, brothers and sisters, in that particular case. So let us not take these things lightly, brothers and sisters, and respect what we say, know and understand the Most High giving us. The Sabbath. When the Most High gives you as a man a good woman, respect that. When as a woman, the Most High gives you a good man, respect that. The things that the Most High has given us is not in vain. As the Moreh spoke earlier, his reading from Isaiah, his thoughts is above our thoughts, and his ways is above our ways. So if we can sit there, feel, know, and understand that the Most High has placed the Shabbat, the Most High has placed a man for the woman and a woman for the man, treat it as so. Treat and show the Most High that you appreciate what's given to you. Let's continue, family. The sacred days of the Israelites, to fulfill the word of Yah by the mouth of Jeremiah, until the land had enjoined her Sabbaths. For as long as she lies desolate, she kept Sabbath to fulfill 70 years. 2 Chronicles 36. Remember we were talking about earlier about the land resting. How does this tie in? Because when you're dealing with the customs of other nations, they work the land. And so where now the land doesn't yield her strength to you because you don't sit there and let the land rest. When you read in Leviticus 19, you're supposed to sit there and let the first fruits go first to the priest, but you're supposed to sit there and let it lie, correct me if I'm wrong for the term fallow, and just sit there and let it absorb the fruit and let it keep on replenishing inside the earth. So if you have a tree, you're supposed to, according to Leviticus 19, for 3 years, don't eat anything of it, which means that you was about, in the Israelite culture, planting trees, which means that you was about eating fruit. Because you got to let one tree rest for 3 years, so you already planted another. The Israelite culture teaches responsibility, unlike what society stated laziness. The Israelite culture teaches preparation for the future. You have to think futuristic. Yisrael, that sound, that yod in the beginning, identifies the future tense. We are futuristic people, brothers and sisters. Though we love history, yes, there's nothing wrong with it to learn from. But we have to keep our eyes in the future in that case to provide. As it says, a wise man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. Let's continue. Sabbath is 52 times a year. That's the weekly Sabbath. Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, 7 days. Feast of Weeks, Shavuot, 7 days. Yom Teruah, Day of the Blasting, 1 day. Yom Kippur, Day of Atonement, 1 day. Feast of Tabernacles, Feast of Booths, Sukkot, 7 days. Shemini Atzeret, 8th day, Solemn Assembly. New moon, 12 times a year, 88 times in a year, we have sacred times. If the calendar has, according to some, 364 days, we know that is over 207 days as Israelites having, quote, regular timing. So Israel, why do we try to find ways to not have to do what is right before our maker? We all need to get better in these days, these times, these observances, and so forth and so on. So let us, in light of that, and give an honor to the Most High, not debate over it, not go back and forth with it in argument, and so forth and so on. These are our days that we should sit there and want to impress upon our immediate and extended family. It feels good seeing immediate and extended family doing a Feast of Unleavened Bread, eating unleavened bread, talking about it tastes good. That is a good sign in that particular case. It felt good when I was at a congregation called Beit Shalom, based out in Brooklyn, New York, and the DJ was up there listening to a woman sing the Psalms in Hebrew, and he's tapping his foot. You never know what influence you may have, brothers and sisters, so it's very important to, as always, remain a light. Now, what happens when you are not a light? Your light can shine by rectifying the wrong you did. And that probably could be a light that shines better than if you had not done the wrong, brothers and sisters. He or she is seeing you being in, say, a repentant mode, can sit there and be like, wow, that person really, really is about correcting oneself, because we all make errors, brothers and sisters. So let's continue with this in this particular manner. Lord, showing the distinction. Speak unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, and say unto them, ye shall be holy, for I, Yah, your God, am holy. Turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. I am Yah, your God. Thou shalt not oppress thy neighbor. Now, I want to emphasize for those who may or may not know, when we're reading here, Yah, the English says Lord. So when you're reading your Bibles and you see Lord, we as Israelites will be saying Yah, so it will be no misunderstanding. Thou shalt not oppress thy neighbor, nor rob him. The wages of a hired servant shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. What are we talking about? And how does that show to be learning not the ways of the nations? You got a job where they pay you every week, every 2 weeks, every month. What are we talking about? It says the wages of a hired servant, that's a person who is hired after they went through, say, the job interview and so, should not abide with thee all night until the morning. The ways of the nations, learn not the ways of the nations, will sit there and tell you while they're taxing it, brothers and sisters, that we're going to take this part and you got to wait until then, and heaven forbid that something is wrong with it. You might have to sit there and go into petty cash, ask 84 times, 84 or whatever times, hope that they sit there and write you a check immediately, or have you sit there and sign something because they don't trust you if they give you petty cash for you to sit there and take cash out that they sat there and according to their own standard messed up with. They already told you your value worth per hour, mess that up, don't pay you that, and then sit there and have you sign something after you trusted them because they don't trust you. That is part of oppression. Many people can sit there and relate to that kind of matter and what is being spoken upon. If somebody works for you, you're supposed to pay them that day. And what employers may not recognize is when you do that, you actually get a better worker because they're going to come back because they know that, quote, for the lack of a better term, paper is going to be there immediately. But whereas with the shucking and the jiving, and when you start at a job, you got to wait 3 weeks if it's an every 2 week job or every other week, like that kind of thing, and so forth and so on. That's oppression. Israel, don't learn the ways of the nations. Don't sit there and know that we're oppressed and then sit there and do the same kind of thing. That's how this kind of lesson ties into that kind of matter. You should not eat with the blood, neither shall you practice divination nor soothsaying. So we don't sit there and look to sit there like matters of witches and warlocks. We don't sit there and look to people like Balaam, brothers and sisters, in the scriptures. You understand? You was not Saul supposed to go and find a witch or the oracle of Endor in that particular case to do Mekwawe Hametim, or that's to say necromancy or the raising of the dead. You understand? You shall not eat with the blood. So therefore, we already know certain things we just would not eat, maybe by default, if we will, for the lack of a better term. You understand? We have a particular diet that is separate. We have a particular way of how we treat people. That's how this kind of presentation ties into the matter. People may have been wondering, well, if it says the influence of the nations and this being that, how does it tie in? Because we go through this kind of oppression. We are consistently, in many cases, brothers and sisters, robbed. It says, don't do that to thy neighbor. As my lady Sarah points out, you don't want to be the oppressed to become the oppressor. You understand? So let's continue with that, brothers and sisters. Jeremiah 10. Hear ye the word which Yah speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith Yah, learn not the way of the nations, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the nations are dismayed at them. All right. Now the Hebrew we're going to go over. Shim'u et hadabar asher diber yod hewahe alekem Beit Yisrael. Beit Yisrael, the house of Israel. So everyone can't be Israel because everybody can't be in that house. So there is, sidebar, no need for brothers and sisters to be making charts of this tribe is this here and this tribe is over that there. When the Most High said that the scattered and the outcasts of Judah and Israel will return and be gathered, Jeremiah spoke on the matter of saying, he who scattered Israel will gather Israel. Brothers and sisters, so the Amishav, meaning my people return organization of the European Jews. No one asked you to do that. The Most High is he who scattered Israel and will gather. So now when you find people in India about the Shinlung saying they come from the tribe of Manasseh, when you find people saying they're from the tribe of Dan and from the tribe of Levi in Gondar, Ethiopia, who are called Falashas, when you find people saying that they are from the house of Israel, referred to as Limba people in southern Africa, when you find people of the Igbo people, when you find people of the Ewe people, when you find people of the Ashanti people talking about they coming from the house of Judah and so forth and so on, the Amishav thing of the European Jews don't include them. That law of return that the European Jews had back in, say, the 50s and 60s changed when, for the lack of a better term, black people came out of Chicago, Illinois, and Detroit, Michigan, and went over there under the, quote, law of return. Because all you had to do at that point, for the lack of a better term, was feel you was a Jew in your heart. So the Amishav organization, and depending upon other people to sit there and say they're going to do the gathering, no. There's two things to point out. Israel is meant to be alone, separate from the other nations. So the constitution of a society cannot work for you like that, brothers and sisters, because the Most High already gave you his laws. So no other law of any other people, constitution and so on, is going to work for the house of Israel because the Most High already gave us his laws. So let's go, if we will, in the sidebar book, brothers and sisters. I have a book here I like to read from. It's called Handbook of the World's Religions. And how does this tie in? Handbook of the World's Religions. Knowing that Israelite culture is not a religion, let's see what this says about something. On page 83, December 25th was already a major festival in the pagan Roman world, the Disnatalis Solis Invicti, or birthday of the unconquered sun, falling within a week-long celebration of the Saturnalia, a feast honoring the renewal of the sun at the winter solstice. Pagan celebrations on December 25th had included feasting, dancing, lighting bonfires, decorating homes with greens, and giving gifts. So, when this became a Christian festival, the customs continued, but with the Christian meaning imparted to them. How does all of that tie in that particular case, brothers and sisters? We want to point out, learn not the ways of the nations and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven. So the winter solstice, when the people's up there looking like, okay, we're going to sit there and do this, and because of this, the Romans want to sit there and worship the sun in hopes that it come back, not understanding maybe about what it says in the scriptures about there will be day and night and hot and cold, or heat and cold, pardon me, in Genesis chapter 8, verse 22. So these are things that we care to point out. If we remember reading earlier, right, it says, turn ye not unto idols, nor make to yourselves molten gods. So the whole Xmas celebration, which has become a very prominent thing among us as a people, my immediate family observes that. Sometimes that is the only time that some people in one's immediate family ever care to sit there and talk. That's not good. You understand? That's not the ways and, say, the customs of us, say, as a people, brothers and sisters. And the diet that many of our people have. And this is no shame on our brothers and sisters, because some of our mothers and fathers, some of our brothers and sisters were and or start into this. So you don't want to talk as if you reached a pedestal above your brothers and sisters while you're working the same job with them. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't sit there and punch the same clock and think that you've already made it when it says 6 days you shall labor do all your work. Your work. But you punching the clock for somebody else. That's not your work. So we want to maintain humility while we reach out to our brothers and sisters. That's why I give respect, may he rest in peace, to Dr. Sebi. He never tried to condemn somebody for diet because he spoke and put himself in it. Isaiah 53. Or we, like sheep, have gone astray. Not you, they, her, him, over there. No, all of us included in this, brothers and sisters. I have a picture that I showed on my personal channel of the Xmas tree with my mother, my sister, and me when I was a baby, brothers and sisters. Don't forget where the Most High brought you from and look down on your brothers and sisters, because Yah gives and Yah takes away. And that's not just life. He can give wisdom and take away wisdom, brothers and sisters. We don't want that. So always maintain humility and never make your brothers and sisters feel bad. You want to be a light. So let's continue in this, if we will, right? For the customs of the people are vanity, for it is but a tree which one cutteth out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and hammers that it move not. They are like a pillar in a garden of cucumbers, and speak not. A pillar in a garden of cucumbers. In a garden of cucumbers, a pillar has no place. There's nothing growing from that pillar. The cucumbers is good too for your kidneys, and brothers and sisters, once it comes down to sit there and flushing out your kidneys. They are like a pillar in a garden of cucumbers and speak not. They must needs be born. That born meaning, in other words, needs to be carried, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither is it in them to do good. So, brothers and sisters, we definitely want to sit there and deal on it in that particular matter. This is talking about a custom that was done in ancient Babylon. You can see on some of their artworks with them decorating the trees and everything like that. Now, in the Roman times, you do know about Titus and Domitian. They used to sit there and put the heads of Israelites on trees. Brothers and sisters, you don't cut the tree and put it in your house. Not that you can't have a plant. But you took the tree from its foundation, didn't give it its proper soil. You disconnected it from its roots and then put it in your house. See, the difference between that, an eitz or tree, and a musad or a plant that you can do is you can have a big pot, sit there and put the stuff in there and still have the soil and have it by the sun and then sit there and have it watered. You can't do that in most cases with your house with a tree. So it is out of order. It is out of place. That's not our custom. For the customs of the people are vain. Once it comes down, and how does this tie in to what we're talking about? Learn not the ways of the nations. When you are at work, just using that as an example, and once it comes down to the ways of these nations in their days, right? December 24th, December 25th is when they're the nicest. December 26th, they're the nastiest, upset, can't pay the bills in January, you spent too much on gifts. Miserable people. And then tell you, if you don't say marry such and such, then you're wrong. I just can't say have a good day. Yeah, I said, I remember one person by where I work at, and every time he just kept on saying, because I sit at the front desk, but I'm not saying to Shem him or Japheth, I'm not saying Merry Xmas to nobody on this earth. I will say have a good day, good night. Merry Xmas, Merry Xmas, Merry Xmas. Have a good day, good night. He could never get the son of Yisrael to verbalize that. That's what the influence is. I'm going to sit there and make you say this day. No, you will not. I'll be silent. If my have a good day, good night don't work, then I'll sit there and maintain silence. Because you shouldn't be celebrating that either. You understand? How does that tie into what we're talking about? The influence of it and how it has brought us to naught, brothers and sisters, is because when you look at that, for instance, right? You have a problem the next month, which does happen, not only say because of a said holiday, but it leads forth to a matter of irresponsibility, not being accountable. When you, and I'm going to get personal if I may he rest in peace. They say I look like him, my granddad, my mother's father, may he rest in peace. When you go out and work overtime in the 1950s, buy gifts for your daughter, who happened to have been my mom, and your son, my uncle, and say that another man did it, what are we doing? Grandpa, and I say this in no disrespect to anybody's family, mine's included. You worked for that. You drove a 18-foot across state lines so you can sit there and buy XYZ gift for your child and say another man did it. You a married man. My grandfather and grandmother are buried within the same plot in the place in New York called Long Island. You a married man, and this is no shame on nobody's family. It's definitely not mine. You a married man. You did it correctly. You did not have children outside of wedlock. You sat there and you loved my grandmother. You respected her. She respected you. You had your issues, but so do couples. But you sit there and work overtime and say another man brought something for your daughter? And when my uncle found out, watching his parents, my grandparents, wrap up the gifts or whatever, speaking no disrespect intended to family, just want to make it real raw life. Because I'm not saying that family is just, well, some family, I'm going to say this is mine, who I'm talking about, so people won't sit there and think these Israelites must think they better and holier than thou. No, I'm talking about the person who sat there and worked hard, because my grandmother was a stay-home person until she had to become a nurse, say in the 60s and 70s. But before that, she was a stay-home, and grandpa held her down in that particular case. But you're saying in the so-called month of December, or in that timing frame, then to say another man brought the gifts. You're giving honor to another man for taking care of something in your house. Now that's serious. So when my uncle found that out and saw my grandparents wrapping the gifts up for them, he told his sister, my mother, like, you got this and I got this. There's no so-called, quote, Santa, Santa. That does not exist. I seen mom and dad with the gifts wrapping it. And they were both younger than 10 at the time. It's like, no, Santa is real, is what my mother stated she said. When the next day they opened up the gifts and found out that my uncle saw what he saw, and I say this in no disrespect, she was upset that she found out that. She rather, even at 5, 6 years old, not know that. She rather, even at that young age, to sit there and be influenced with the lie and could not essentially appreciate the quote gift she got, because back in those days, parents was getting in their children's behind for lying to them. But now you got parents lying to children. See, this is the ways of the nations and how it is out of place, how it's not in order. You work hard, you take care of son with family, you give the credit to another man. But if your child lies to you, you sit there and say, you can't play with your toys now, you're on punishment. The same toys that you sat there and worked hard for. Do we see the problem with that kind of situation, family? For the customs of the people are vain. It will have you lying to your own children, that you will sit there and want to get rid of their toys and put them on punishment, and you can't play with it for lying, for doing what that is. How does a child feel after being lied to? Let's leave those ways alone, family. Let's continue. Zechariah and Daniel. For I bend Judah for me. I fill the bow with Ephraim, and I will stir up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Javan, Javan being the Greeks. And I will make thee as a sword of a mighty man. And he said, behold, I will make thee know what shall be in a latter time of the indignation, for it belongeth to the appointed time of the end. The ram which thou sawest having the 2 horns, they are the kings of Media and Persia. Media and Persia came to power greatly in the 6th century BCE. In the book that I wrote, Egypt Talking Writing, I stated outside of the Moors, outside of the Nok Kingdom, outside of the Songhai Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire of the BCE era was the last greatest black empire on this earth, for the lack of a better term, using the word black. Yes, there were empires such as the Songhai, Zegzeg, Nufa, Ashanti, Arikam, Seiri, and so forth and so on that did exist. But as far as the world empire, if you will, Medo-Persia was the last, quote, for the lack of a better term, black one. And the rough he-goat is the king of Greece, that's Alexander. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king. Alexander, son of Philip of Macedon, was the first king of Greece to sit there and do what he did in that particular case and spread what is referred to today as, quote, Hellenism. Let's continue, family. First Maccabees 1 and notes. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, and his servants bare rule everyone in his place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So they did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. how does this tie in to the influence of the nations on us? Many also of the Israelites consented to Antiochus' religion and profaned the Sabbath and festival days, sacrificed swine's flesh, set up altars and chapels of idols. That's how it ties into the presentation, because after Alexander, you had the kingdoms that was split. It was not until Alexander that the Hebrews forcibly felt the impact of the European continent. And we already know Hebrew is not even a European language. History of Ancient Israel by Michael Grant. From the era of 320 BCE until 198 BCE, Yisrael, that's to say Israel, was under the Ptolemies. In the time of the Antiochus III, in the Battle of Penaeum, we see that Israel became subjugated of the Seleucids. The Ptolemies were in Egypt, while the Seleucids were in Antioch. Antioch is in modern-day Syria. So you read in Daniel 11 about the king of the north and the king of the south. Those were the battles between the Ptolemies and the Seleucids, brothers and sisters, in that case. All right. So we're about concluded in this, and I would like to wrap it up and give an honor and praise unto the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth. And how does all of this tie in? Hellenism, the spread of Greek culture and how it has impacted the language we speak is influenced by Greek, called English today. Did you know that in the 18th century, they was going to make Hebrew the national language of the United States, but they chose not to? What is the point in going over all of this? Our people have a land called Israel. Our people have a culture called Torah, and our people have a language called Hebrew. Said black men and women outside of the land are landless. We have no land in that case. Without Torah, you have no culture. And without land and culture, you don't have a language, because it's all intertwined with each other. You're speaking a language, brothers and sisters, about the influence of how it causes us to be naught, if we will. That doesn't distinguish between man and woman, where everybody is just all one and the same. Whereas in the Hebrew thought, if you were to subscribe to the channel, Moreh Yeshiah Hebrew Lessons, if you care to do so, you will begin to see that there's a distinction between males and females. There's a role for males, there's a role for females. In Israelite culture, brothers and sisters, that was the thing that they wanted to stop. The book of the Apocrypha speaks upon a matter of saying what? That to make them forget the law and change all the ordinances. So Israel, here's something if you know yourself as Israel. What are we doing when the only book that Joshua had is today called the Torah? When did a new book come for the house of Israel? Joshua didn't tell you to read Joshua. Joshua told you the words of the book in this law, not a future law. Now it's been said of old time, but now I say unto you, book. So the Maccabees were led by the Levite people. Sometimes people call it, brothers and sisters, the time when the priests fought and ruled. And in the new book that was given to us, while the book by in this quote same Bible was called old, in the new part that they refer to it as says that there's a change of the priesthood. There is, however, no change of the priesthood. So how does that tie in, brothers and sisters? Because by saying the Levitical priesthood is changed in your new book, and wondering whether or not the seed of the house of David is going to reign upon the throne again. O house of Israel, the nations want to cut off our priesthood and our kingship. And that is an influence that has sadly even spilt into those who know themselves as Israel. The seed of Zadok mentioned in Ezekiel 48 will again, from the house of Eleazar, be the priest in the future. During the time of the era of the Greeks, they wanted to suppress the Levitical order. They wanted to suppress the understanding of David ruling, brothers and sisters. Michael Grant, cited in this slide that you see here, also stated that anyone of the house of David during the time of the Roman occupancy of Israel was sought after and slain. Who do you think Obadiah is talking about when it says, neither should you have cut off those that escaped? Who were those that escaped? Israel. And you got other nations making sure that that is not taught. Shh, don't speak upon that culture. Give them things to sit there and ideologies, superstitions, brothers and sisters, and not nationality, which comes with the land, language, and culture. Tell them you're an African, which is an entire continent, which does not identify what part of that place you're from, nor what language and or dialect belongs to you. And by default, what culture belongs to you. Landless, cultureless, languageless. This is not to depress anyone, brothers and sisters, but rather to get into how this ties into the presentation in the name of it, the influence of the other nations and how it is not good for us. It's different aspects. We spoke earlier in closing out, right? The job market, how they operate in that. Israelite culture, you pay every day that the person works, not 1 week, every 2 weeks, every month. You should not oppress your neighbor. We scared to sit there one time and big up and praise and uphold on a human level, brothers and sisters, because we are afraid of being called racist. So we rather not sit there and support one another. That's oppressive. You understand? You're teaching me to tell my little princess that, quote, boys are nasty. I'm not teaching my daughter that boys are nasty. I'm teaching her, or try to, that she should not be nasty, which I'm thankful she's not. But what seed is being planted inside of one's head in that case? The influence of the nations and how it has been upon us. For instance, in the movie Crash, for those familiar with it, the Caucasian cop sits there and disrespects the woman in the movie Crash in front of her Isha, her husband, and due to the fact of he's worried about being killed, he feels he's no strength to stand before his enemies. And that same person then is going to be there to save the woman that was accosted or disrespected from the fire in the car. So your man couldn't save you then on a human level, and your man ain't here to save you now. So how does that tie in? Get the man up out the house. The influence of the nations on us. That is how those kind of things tie into this kind of presentation. So, brothers and sisters, we hope and pray that everybody is well and will be better. We do not claim to know everything. And brothers and sisters, thus ends the presentation with the timing allotted. I would like to say, on a human level, told out to my lady Sarai, who's always been there supporting me through thick and thin. And I'm going to say, told out to my brother Yirmiyahu, and told out to Moreh Yeshiah for even inviting me on the platform as such to even sit there and speak upon this kind of matter and things of that kind of nature. So let us, brothers and sisters, in this in closing out, if we will. Again, and hoping and praying that everybody is well and will be better, I relinquish the mic to the hostess. Shalom.
Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah. Moreh Yeshiah for a wonderful presentation. I enjoyed it. I really did. It ties into my series, Learn Not the Ways of the Nations. And I thank you again for coming and giving us a little bit of your time. And I'm going to take a brief break and come back and let you introduce yourself. Tell people more about your channels and the contact information you wish to divulge, as well as give people an opportunity to form their questions to ask you if they have any. Toda Rabbah. Toda Rabbah, Moreh Yeshiah again for a wonderful presentation. I am looking forward to hearing more about the negative influences that have impacted our culture. And I want you to come back and tell the people more about you, your channels, contact information, and anything that you wish to share with the people.
Shalom.
Yes, you can be heard.
Okay, Toda, that's definitely, I definitely do appreciate that. I've known myself as an Israelite and given honor to the Most High all of my life. And when I say all of my life, I mean from when my mother on a human level brought me into this when I was 2 years old. I'm now 44. I want to sit there and state that what that means in certain cases is you knew what you were doing wrong longer. It's nothing to sit there and state that, oh, I know more than you or I'm better than you. You knew being raised in this since you was a baby, when you stole, you was wrong. You know that when you lied, you was wrong. You know when you ate unclean, you was wrong. You understand? You had no business at the age of 7, if I make it personal. This is a story I shared with my lady, Sarah. You knew at the age of 7, chilling with immediate family, you were supposed to be a light. Instead, you let them, unbeknownst, they don't know the culture like that. You eating crab meat. What are you doing? Why do I mention being in this since I was a baby, but at the age of 7, I'm up there eating crab meat? Because Israel, we don't, and I got in trouble for that when my imam, and she rest in peace, found out. Why do I mention that in particular is because you don't ever, brothers and sisters, ever, brothers and sisters, want to sit there and make anybody, man, woman, child, anyone whatsoever, feel bad about anything, if we will. All right? Want to sit there and point that out if we will, for edification purposes. That's why. Make yourself an example, if we will, for the lack of a better term. All right. So let's look. I can be reached, brothers and sisters, at the number here 908 587 4841. All right. So with that, I can be text or WhatsApp or so forth and so on in that particular case. All right. I want to also state my channel is Moreh Yeshiah Torah lessons, as well as Moreh Yeshiah history lessons, and so forth. I would like to, in giving honor to the Most High, the Creator, the Maker of heaven and earth, sit there and take out the opportune time, if we will, to speak on, for those who did get the number. Also, this is a book, a poetry book that my lady Sarai wrote for those who are interested in poetry. David was a poet, so was Asaph in the scriptures. So we have poets in the Tanakh, in the scriptures, and so forth. All right. So just want to point that out for reference purposes. For those who are interested, we have a plethora, you might say, of Hebrew books. This is to say Hebrews Easy Volume 1, Volume 2. I'll explain this in a second. Just want to show real quick. Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6. And this is the one I dedicated in honor of my mom. May she rest in peace. All these Hebrew books are $10 each online. All right. For those who are interested, this is a book that me and my lady wrote. 3 Hebrew books, Hebrew for couples, the kind of conversations a man and woman have. We sat there and put it together in spirit and so forth to get this out to the people. Hebrew for couples. You can look that up. Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. Now, when you go in your own time and look under the channel, Moreh Yeshiah Hebrew lessons, these books are explained in detail and so forth. I would like to, in closing out, thank you for allowing a person to sit there and show off what one has done. Egypt talking writing in this particular case. All right. Some of the stuff that we've gone over in history, if we will. Then we have here Deuteronomy 28, 15 to 68. For those, all of these that you see is also on Amazon. And this is one of the books that I think is, not to be funny, one of my best, from Avaris, which is in ancient Egypt, also called Pira Amses in history, to Alabama. By the way, Alabama is in Native American term that was actually a tribe in that particular case. So just want to point that out for reference purposes. Brothers and sisters, that is the books that I'm going to show. My contact has already been there. Thank you for that, Moreh. That's to say 908-587-4841. I can be reached by text message. I can be reached by WhatsApp, and I can be reached by being called. All right. I am in New York in the East Coast, so I prefer that if people do decide to call an Eastern Standard Time, you can leave a text or a WhatsApp at any given time, but I won't be able to get back until reasonable quote hours. That's to say between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. any given day. Just want to point that out in that particular case. If there's any questions concerning the presentation, I'm open. Constructive criticism about how to make a PowerPoint better, I'm open to constructive criticism. Definitely let me know. I am welcome to being taught. Thank you for that. Toda for that. My teachers range from a place in the Bronx that's called Kol She'eri. Then I attended a place called Bnei Yadat, which sadly closed down. I went to a place called Hashaba Yisrael. Also, brothers and sisters, a place called Kaluse. And by that time, I'm already a grown man going into the age of 20 and so forth and so on. But those are the places that had, say, the biggest influence upon a brother and so forth. So I give, on a human level, respect to my teachers, Moreh Yosef and Adon Yishai, Cohen Lewy, Cohen Malkiel, Cohen Pinchas, may Cohen Pinchas rest in peace, as well as Cohen Malkiel and Cohen Lewy. I give due respect to Cohen Mikael, who wrote a Hebrew book himself. May the Most High continue to bless his life. I give due respect to Moreh Tibak, may he rest in peace. Adon Aharon Ben Zebulun, may he rest in peace. My history teacher, Chi Simeon, May he rest in peace. Coming from an old Israelite camp referred to, for those who do know, as Benar Zakim. And brothers and sisters, I, on a human level, give due respect to my teachers because that is honor. We speak as Israelite men with the timing allotted, right? Quite often about the Proverbs 31 woman, the Proverbs 31 woman. What about the Proverbs 31 man? You know what it says about him? He rises up and calls his wife blessed. They don't wake up shouting at each other negatively. And if they are shouting, it's in happiness. Her children rise up and call her blessed. He says to her, many women have done well, but you excel the more. You understand? That's the Proverbs 31 man that it talks about. Also, brothers and sisters, it speaks about the matter of he is known by sitting with the elders at the gate of the city. He's known by sitting with the elders, not with just his peoples, his men's and quote unquote. He sits and gets the knowledge from elders on how to handle a situation. So as a Proverbs 31 woman considers a field and buys it, so does the man stay learning. He sits under like Moses did with Jethro being his elder. You understand? He sits there and learn about certain things, because if you remember that Abraham was alive to Jacob and Esau were 15, so you definitely know that they learned something that was very deep and not to be taken lightly. So when you speak about elders, when you sit there and you speak about the people who paved the way, those are things that we're supposed to take and build upon it. In understanding myself as Israel from age 2 to now 44, a brother has seen a whole transition of a generation go and come in. A whole new set of drummers that you see at DCB was not there. That congregation that has the drummers there, called Mishpachah drummers, for those interested or who know, were not there in the 1990s. Their children have now stepped up and said rank. Children have replaced it and said rank, brothers and sisters. So what are we to do, as it says, from one generation to the next? What are we leaving and passing that baton on to in due respect? It's something that we're supposed to consider and take very, very much to heart. I respect, and I must, on a human level, give due respect to the woman who influenced me when I didn't want to teach at one point, off camera. My lady Sarah was like, no, you're Moreh. You're going to continue because this is what the Most High has for you. What do you mean you don't want to do it? This is what your Elohim, God-given appointed duty is. You understand? Jeremiah chapter 48, verse 10. Cursed be he who doeth the work of the Most High deceitfully. Cursed be he who doeth the work of the Most High with a slack hand. Jeremiah 48, verse 10. When you have a mission and it's of the Most High God, you're supposed to do it. Commit your works to Yah and your thoughts will be established. Let's look at that, family. Commit your works to Yah. Not just sitting back, meditating and thinking, which is nothing wrong. The word shagah means to meditate. Isaac did it by the well. There's nothing wrong with meditating. But commit your works. Put something in, brothers and sisters. The Most High is seen by his works. So we are seen by our works. What are we producing, brothers and sisters? What are we making manifest? Whatever it is. I compliment online and offline the cooking that my lady does. The unleavened waffles that I've never had in my whole life that I had this week that she made. You understand? unleavened syrup during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, brothers and sisters. These are things, brothers and sisters, that we want to sit there and take to heart. I would like to, in closing out, read, please, and letting the book speak for itself, if I may. Thank you for that. It is in the book of Zechariah, chapter 7, brothers and sisters. All right? And we're going to read in Zechariah chapter 7, verse 8. This is doing what they call the Second Temple, when there was no human king of Israel on the throne of the Israelites, but rather under the hegemony of the Medes and the Persians. Let's see what it says here in Zechariah chapter 7, verse 8. And the word of Yah came to Zechariah, saying, Thus speaketh Yah of hosts, saying, Execute true judgment and show mercy and compassion every man to his brother. Show mercy and compassion every man to his brother. So we don't have that influence of the nations on us saying, look, nations, I hate my own too. And oppress not the widow, nor the fatherless, the stranger, nor the poor. And let none of you imagine evil against his brother in your heart. Oppress not the widow, nor the fatherless, the stranger, nor the poor. Know how to treat people. And let none of you imagine evil against his brother in your heart. But how do you know if you're oppressing someone? Treat people the way you want to be treated. If you're treating someone the way you don't want to be treated, then you know that's incorrect. Let's continue, family. Thank you for that. And let none of you imagine evil against your brother in your heart. Your heart, your lab, your mind, your thought, your makashaba. Where is your heart at? Where is your mind at? Is it hatred toward your brothers and your sisters is what the prophet is talking about. But they, Israel, but they refused to hearken and pulled away the shoulder and stopped their ears that they might not hear. Yea, they made their hearts as an adamant stone. We prayed, not to get too personal, about having a heart of flesh and not a heart of stone. At least they should hear the law and the words which Yah of hosts has sent in his spirit by the former prophets. Therefore came their great wrath from Yah of hosts. Therefore it is come to pass that as he cried and they would not hear, so they cried and I will not hear, says Yah of hosts. But I scattered them, Israel, but I scattered them with the whirlwind among the nations whom they have not known, and by default became influenced. Thus the land was desolate after them, that no man passed through nor returned. For they, Israel, for they laid the pleasant land desolate. Brothers and sisters, that land that's supposed to have the rest every 7 years, we went over earlier. Not loving your brothers and your sisters, dealing with oppression, not dealing in true judgment, not dealing in mercy and compassion, caused Israel to be scattered. One way to look at it, no disrespect intended. Parents put their children in a corner until they learn how to get along. Israel scattered to the four corners of the earth. Israel been saying for quite some time, the Most High is waiting on us, when the Most High already told us what to do. So is Yah truly waiting for us? Or is it, as it says in Ezekiel, get you a new spirit and a new heart? That is what the Most High wants. One generation I've seen leaving Israel, and it's not about what I've seen, but I can say such. One generation done left, and another generation is now in their 40s and 50s. What are we doing? Giving honor and praise to Yah, creator, maker of heaven and earth. I relinquish the mic. Shalom.
Praise the power of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Israel, the creator of the heavens, the earth, the seas, and all that in them is, the Savior and Redeemer of Israel. For he is worthy, most worthy, definitely worthy to be praised. I give all honor, all glory, and all praises to you, Most High Yah. also known as the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, who is the Elohim of our forefathers, the Holy One of Israel, our forefathers' God, the God of the Hebrews. As this lesson has come to a close, I thank and praise you for giving us the opportunity to learn, the capacity to understand, and the willingness to increase our wisdom of your laws through the testimonies of your prophets, the ancient messengers of our forefathers. The opportunity to be a light and the delight in your laws, that if a man walks therein, he should live. I pray that all who hear this message be inspired, energized, rejuvenated, recharged, refueled, and motivated throughout the rest of this week. And I pray that you protect us, guide us, and strengthen us with all the necessary tools to encounter our trials and tribulations each day. I also thank you for all those who are in attendance, who came ready to learn, and those who will see this message in the future with who has a desire to know you, Almighty Yah. You who has imparted us with this knowledge to bring forth into your servants, the children of Israel. I pray that you continuously bless not only me, but Moreh Yeshiah with the skills, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of your word, which is needed to teach your servants, the children of Israel, that you bless all of us exponentially for setting aside time each week to study your holy scriptures. May you continue to bless and guide us each day, and may the things we learned remain in our day-to-day activities. I thank you for all the blessings, mercies, benefits, and grace that you have bestowed upon all of your servants, even the children of Israel. For truly you have been good to Israel, for your mercy endures forever, and I thank you for them. I also thank you for allowing Moreh Yeshiah to come and present this wonderful lesson, and I pray that all who hears it be inspired and return back into you, for we have walked contrary to your laws from the days of our youth. And we have to return, Israel. We have to return, for we have fallen in our iniquity. And you have teachers who can help you to return back to the laws of Yah. Hallelujah.
Putting God back into our relationships. Weekly Bible study with Moreh Yeshiah on Thursdays at 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Jewels of Wisdom. Messages of inspiration. Putting the wisdom of God back into our relationships. With host Moreh Yeshiah. Sundays at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, and with all thy getting get understanding. Proverbs chapter 4 verse 7. Thanks for watching. Share, like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notification.